So here we are, once again talking about the futures of Sidney Crosby, Evgeni Malkin, and Kris Letang. The big three, guys that were playing Pittsburgh Penguins hockey as far back as the mid-2000s, and 2 decades later who are still doing their thing. We've got some updates from Sidney Crosby about his contract extension. We have some discussions as to what the future can hold for this group of guys. It's all coming up here later in this video, so be sure to stick around. I'm going to leave a link in the description to this article on Spectre's Hockey, as well as the Sidney Crosby update on triblive.com. But let's start things out with May 2nd's edition of the NHL Rumor Mill. Shall we? Lyle Richardson has the scoop over here as compiled from various articles. Take a look at this. Will the Pittsburgh Penguins shed some veterans to add more youth? Via Pittsburgh Hockey Now, writer Dan Kaniewski believes sweeping changes are necessary for the Penguins despite reaching the playoffs this season. He felt that it wasn't enough to make the postseason, pointing out that this team is not a Stanley Cup contender. Kaniewski felt they must break with their past and focus more on building for the future. He doesn't see any reason to retain their core of veterans if this season's performance is the best they can do. Those forwards include longtime Penguin stars Crosby, Malkin, and Letang, plus Karlsson, Rakell, Brian Rust. Now, I think that's kind of a misreading of the situation because Kris Letang, Erik Karlsson, these guys are not forwards necessarily. But essentially, Kaniewski is writing about guys that he feels the Penguins should trade if this season indicates the best that they are capable of doing. Sidney Crosby this season had himself 74 points in 68 games. Pretty outstanding numbers if we're being honest here. Sure, he didn't reach 82 points, but he missed a significant chunk of games because of Radko Gudas. You have Evgeni Malkin, who had a pretty big bounce-back year, from being a consistent 70 to 90-point guy to getting 20 and 40 points in seasons after. Evgeni Malkin went from 50 points in 68 games last year to 61 points in 56 games this year. Again, maybe not as available as he once upon a time was, but he's 39 years old. That's totally fine. Evgeni Malkin will be 40 by the time next season begins. And of course, this is the last year of his $6.1 million contract. By all accounts, it does seem like Malkin does want to return. It's not like, oh, the guy's gonna get traded per se. He can just go to free agency if that's the case. But he does seem to have an invested interest into sticking around with Pittsburgh, so for now, let's just assume he stays with the Pens. I'd say that's the most reasonable way to think about it. Then you've got Kris Letang, who's also 39. He has himself 2 more seasons after this one at $6.1 million a year. Letang is no longer the guy that he once was, although, to be fair, it's not like Kris Letang was ever like a 70, 80, 90-point defenseman like we had seen with some of these other guys. Near a point per game some years, sure, but he maxed out at 68 points in 78 games played in 2022. Pretty great age for him to be setting career highs. Either way, this season, Kris Letang had 34 points in 74 games and 2 goals in 6 games against the Flyers in the playoffs. You know, it's kind of funny seeing Kris Letang's numbers all assorted over here. It's like, damn, this guy didn't play for Team Canada once at any tournament in any year. Post-World Juniors, I guess, in 2007. He made his long-term debut with the Penguins in 2007-2008 with a little bit of an AHL stint and then just went to Pittsburgh only the next few years. Meanwhile, if you take a look at some of the other names that had floated around the Pittsburgh Penguins bubble to various degrees of success, Erik Karlsson is another one of these guys. Signed onto the books till the end of 2027 at $11.5 million in total. Obviously, there's some salary retained on the Pittsburgh end. Karlsson had a great year, 66 points, 75 games played, his best season as a Penguin so far. Definitely a far cry from his Norris-winning 101-point campaign from San Jose in 2023, but still, a very good player in his own right that will command some value, especially if the Penguins fully decide that a rebuild is the direction they're going to go down, and therefore they decide to retain some of Karlsson's dollar right now too. You think about it and you say, hey, Crosby, Malkin, Letang, Karlsson, these guys are all reasonably good players, and they essentially were the core of what the Penguins were able to accomplish. But if what we had seen this season is the best that they can provide, then is there a realm where we can see a Sidney Crosby trade go down for the betterment of the Penguins long term? I think the common consensus that we have seen out of NHL fans and writers over the past year and a bit has been, even if the Penguins are bad, Sidney Crosby's not going to get traded unless he himself either demands it or expresses some sort of an inkling that he wants it. This is going to be his choice, and Malkin, Karlsson, Letang, these guys might follow suit in that sort of a way. Karlsson doesn't have that same connection with Crosby in the same way the other two guys do, but Karlsson also, he is a lot more expensive, so you also have to consider that. Going back over to Spector's Hockey, this is what Josh Yohei wrote about in The Athletic. He noted the Penguins were largely carried by those veterans this season. He also noted that GM Kyle Dubas' efforts to add younger talent have been a mixed bag thus far. Some, such as Ben Kindel, Chinakhov, Soderblom, and Avery Hayes, have given cause for optimism, but others, such as McGroarty, Koivunen, and defenseman Harrison Brunecki, have yet to develop as hoped. Malkin is UFA eligible this summer, and there is no certainty he'll be back. Letang struggled through most of the season, but he has 2 more years left on his deal, and they won't get any cap relief if they buy him out. Pending UFAs, Kevin Hayes, Connor Clifton, and Noel Ashari almost certainly won't be back. Yohei expects Dubas could spend some money in this summer's thin free agent market, but he expects that Dubas will focus more on the trade market. The Penguins have interest in 26-year-old Dallas Stars winger Jason Robertson. Yohei noted that Dubas has a glut of draft picks, older vets, and salary cap space to use as trade bait to add younger talent if any becomes available. So, with this in mind, it does seem like Kyle Dubas will be more intent to improving the team as he's going along here. Until Crosby, Malkin, Letang retire, it doesn't seem like this train has any brakes that will be applied. They're going to keep on going, keep on trying to contend, whilst also adding some younger pieces and hope for the future, with the ultimate hope of doing what they can to suffice Sidney Crosby and Evgeni Malkin's competitive spirit in the now. With that said, let's go over onto TribLive.com, because Seth Rorabo, earlier 2 days ago, had this article talking about how Penguins forward Sidney Crosby will wait and see for a contract extension. Crosby is signed on till the end of 26-27, so by the time July 1st rolls around, he will be eligible for an extension, most probably at $8.7 million a year. I don't really see any reason for him to stop earning that amount of money. I know inflation's been a real nasty one the past few years, but Sid the Kid's still doing his thing, or at least that's what it feels like. This article goes out there and talks about how Crosby will be entering the final year of his current contract, being eligible to sign an extension as of July 1. As this offseason begins, the anticipation of Crosby signing again isn't all that intense, at least for him. Just wait and see, Crosby said Friday in Cranberry during the team's exit interviews. I haven't thought that far ahead, but we'll just wait and see. Crosby was largely dominant in his 21st NHL season, but there were challenges, particularly after he had suffered a suspected right knee injury while skating for Canada in the Olympics in February. Crosby indicated he will not need any type of off-season surgery. I'm going to have discussions today and talk to doctors and things like that. Crosby said, I feel pretty good. Given the grind of a season he had just completed, it's doubtful Crosby will skate for Canada in the upcoming IIHF World Championship tournament as he did last season, but he indicated he has not had any discussions on the matter with Hockey Canada as of yet. So with that said, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about the idea of the Penguins trading Crosby, Letang, Karlsson? What's the future of Malkin? Let me know in the comments, how do you feel about all this future talk with Pittsburgh, and where do you see it going in the short term? I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye.